Wake up with whole health connections. Wake up with whole health connections. He'll be your best friend, your ride or die. He's gonna show you how to fly. Wake up with whole health connections. What's up, guys? It's Emeezio. Hey, hi, it's the hip hop healer. Come close, let me give you a feeler. Who I am, what I'm meal about. Love, baby, I'm the plug, I'm the dealer. Ooh. It ain't hard to be soft till you're lost in the frost, wondering how to be kissing ass on your boss. Happy thoughts when I rock. Nah, sometimes there's some monsters. They sneak out and leak out my unconscious. Pretty scary if you don't know your darkness, but it's chill cause they there anyway. Like when you in the mirror, doing up your hair, doing up your face, cover up the way, feel about yourself that day. Say, hey, I'ma let my ugliness come out and play. Like 2 days ain't enough. I go to bed tired and I wake up rushed. I can't help it. Letting go tonight, I can't help it. I'ma live my life. Canyons of park, music after dark. Come here, come on, swim with sharks. See the scars, the image and the drama. A nasty image of my future baby mama that scares me to death to the point that I run away and I hide in a cave like Osama. Day and night, I'm afraid I'm haunted. What's she wanting? What's she wanting? Where'd you go? Where'd you come to communicate this life right here now in this human state? I say love in every form, not the norm. It's gonna be tough. I'm like, no, it ain't buttercup. Open up. I got enough charm for the both of us. She's like, how you gonna maintain connection to the people when they want to put a needle in your arm against your will? I'm like, chill, it's a meal. Ain't nobody wish me ill. That's for real. Everything that I ever did wrong, I came to heal. That's real. And I'm just saying that right now with Rob to start the show. And I guess we can go or we can freestyle, yo. But I'm just saying, hey, nice to meet you. I'm good to get into the feature. Peace.
Wow. Emil Carson,
Hello,
Emeezio, my brother, welcome.
What's going on, Rob?
Dude, that was ball. That was getting me pumped up. My face is hurting from smiling that hard. That was
dope. It's 7 a.m., man. Waking up with you.
So everybody listening right now, we're recording this. It is April 8th. It's 7 a.m. Pacific time, which is where brother Emeezio is at. So he just woke up and just made some magic happen right off the bat. So how are we doing this morning, my brother?
I'm good, man. I wrote that one like last weekend just for you. So I'm glad it kind of came. I wasn't sure if I had it memorized or not. So I'm glad it kind of came out.
It came out awesome, dude. Well, obviously, just from that, people can tell, you got some creativity in you. You got some talent. But I'd love to just have you share, who you are and a little bit about your story. What got you to the Emeezio we know today in the world of creativity, the world of music, and the world of health and wellness.
Oh man, thank you. It kind of all folds together. I mean, I know you through the holistic health circles. And I don't really, I'm sure in those circles, you don't really think of me as like a hip hop rapper dude. I just kind of keep it in the cuts, but they are super intermixed. And, it's just like, yeah, I fell in love with hip hop in about 7th grade. I just moved to a new school, new area. It was kind of like, didn't have any friends, the outcast kids kind of like, whatever, we're like, hey, what are you doing? Come hang out with us kind of thing. And then they showed me like, it was like early Dr. Dre or early NWA stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, like, I love this. Like, what is
this
it?
California? This is in California?
This is in California. Yeah. This is when we moved up to Humboldt County, my family and me, from like the Bay Area, from North Bay. Yeah, I was just like, holy smokes. And it was like all these like, fuck the police and stuff. I was like just vibing with it for some reason, even though I was just like this little white kid who lived, whatever, pretty normal life. But some about it. And so yeah, ever since then, I was always kind of into it. And then once I went to college, everyone was just kind of freestyling all the time, and we were doing it like at parties and stuff. And that was pretty much it. I got into kind of like too much into partying towards the end of my college. I ended up getting into some harder drugs, started doing heroin, and I didn't like inject it or anything. We were just smoking it, kind of like casually doing it or whatever, which, you know, it's probably something people hear and they don't, you know, I don't know. I have a different image of it than what a lot of people have. But when I started doing that, I would just rap nonstop. And that's when I was like, holy smokes. Like, I think I want to do more of this, like make this a practice. And so, yeah, that's what started kind of me taking hip hop seriously. And I couldn't really play any instruments or didn't have any musical really experience. So ever since then, it's just been like learning. And that's kind of the same thing that got me into holistic health was when I, you know, came off the drugs. I was just like, just naturally, it was like researching health and wellness and trying to dip my feet into every avenue. And, you know, that's kind of how I lined up and met up with you. So that's a little quick snapshot. I can dive into anything.
Well, yeah, dude, it's funny because today before the podcast, I was just out in the sun. You know, the sun's finally back out here in Boston. So, and I was just playing with my mace. And, you know, to me, I was like, you know, people have their Tai Chi, people have their meditation, they have all these things. But I was really recognizing, you know, the mace is becoming my practice. And
Hell
that's, you know,
yeah.
what I'm seeing, what you're saying with the music and the freestyle and the rapping. I was like, that's your practice. That's your meditation because that is a meditation. That is a way of being present. That's a way of being creative, expressing yourself. And there's so many different ways to express ourselves. And most people, you know, a lot of men especially, we don't express ourselves. We, you know, for me personally, I've shared this before. I had a, you know, creativity wound of my childhood, you know, being told in middle school, you know, getting some bad grades on my art projects, being told I'm not good at art, even though I used to love art. So and I think we all have these wounds of creativity. And it's a very vulnerable place to be. So whenever I'm hearing you, you know, just spitting, it's like, fuck, dude, like, because part of me wants to do it because I used to freestyle one of my buddies sometimes too, but I just
You know,
wasn't as good. I wasn't as good. So
you're dope though, man. I remember that freestyle class you were in. I thought everyone there was just kind of lights out. And I think it's like, I think rapping in general is just, or rhyming or whatever, and expressing your vocal. Like, I think that's an innate quality that anyone has. So um, I've seen so many people, gotten so many people to freestyle and stuff that never would have. And it's usually doper than, you know, something I can do or something somebody super skilled can do, just because when you're fresh, you're a little more in the moment. You're not really going off like these developed flow patterns or habits that you've created that kind of express skill, but maybe they're just not quite as in the moment as somebody who's super fresh on it. So
mm.
anytime you want to flow, man, just we can Zoom, let's do it.
Hell yeah. Well, anybody listening, you know, Emil does these freestyle boot camps, which I highly recommend. I mean, it's honestly one of the most fun that I can say is probably the most fun Zoom call I've ever had. And I was cracking up, you know, everybody there was just having a good time. And, you know, like we said, it's vulnerable. At first, I joined in late. So just a little story on my experience in the boot camp. I got the time mixed up. So I jump in, legitimately connect to audio. I hear Rob, you're up. And I'm just like, what are we doing? Shit. And that's just like, you know, kind of brought back that, like that fear of like, oh man, are people going to judge me? Like these things that I haven't felt in a while. Cause I put myself out there, but it made me recognize like, whoa, this is cool. This is very uncomfortable. So I got the opportunity to dive into that. And, you know, for me as well as I started doing a lot of poetry about a year ago, when things started
Nice.
warming up and, you know, right around this time, springtime. I had a little series on YouTube called Poetry in the Garden where I'd read my
What?
poems out loud in the garden. And
Oh, I didn't even see that.
I'll share it after. Maybe I'll put in the show notes here, but I haven't done one in a while.
Can
And
you do it? Can you do a poem for us real quick?
I don't know if I can do one real quick. I can maybe pull up an old one.
Okay.
But yeah,
Maybe later you can share.
yeah, pull one up. But yeah, I'd love to, you know, just kind of dive into the essence of your practice, the essence of rapping and hip hop and freestyle. Like you said, it's an innate quality to express ourselves vocally. But I think people can get a little mixed up with, you know, how do I get started? So what do you recommend for people to start getting into that creative flow?
With actual like freestyling or
And
writing lyrics
any
or
creativity in general.
um you know what, I normally just do it well, I mean, like you said with poetry, I kind of look at Writing is a little something more I will do when I'm just so full of emotion and I can't really be around anyone. It's usually like I'm angry or I'm just like I'm sad or ashamed or something. I just like it's like a deep feeling, and I'm like and anyone that I'm around, I just kind of snap at them, and that's when I kind of know like, all right, you need to go, hit your cave, hit your studio, hit your lab, whatever people want to call their little zone, and that's when I'll usually like make a beat and just kind of start writing and processing. Um, Freestyle, I do just whenever. I mean, I delivered pizzas for a while, so that's kind of when I kind of honed my skills, just driving, throwing some beats on. I think it's super fun to do with friends. I think it's super fun to do just when you're driving in your car and you're just killing time in the shower. I mean, if you're not attracted to that medium of just vocal expression and like, then, I don't know where to start from there, maybe do something else. But if you are, I think just kind of incorporating it into your everyday life, just like, oh, I'm in the kitchen, like just narrate what you're doing, like, oh, I got the pan going, about to throw some spam on it, whatever. I don't eat spam, but I'm just being
Right.
honest. It's just like, yeah, I would say just kind of have fun with it.
Totally. And I think that's the part of, like I say, with the poetry and the freestyle, it's fun and it's expressive. And oftentimes we can tell things better in a story form. And I feel like that's really what, freestyling and rapping is. You're telling a story. And if you're freestyling, you're telling a story, just what's off the cuff, what's popping in your head moment by moment, which for me is always interesting to see what's going on in my head that kind of just comes up real quick. I'm not thinking about it. And so I pulled up my first poem I wrote here. I wanna bring it up here. So this is first poem in 2020 that I started going back to it. So let's see. I'll start with the first one. So this is 3/18/2020. And the title is On Information. The information we seek can also make us weak. Flooded by analysis results in paralysis. We must attain just enough, a skill which is tough. To master a few will charge you anew. We often seek too much to grasp all and touch. Our head which starts to burn the more that we learn. It is here that we find the purpose of the mind, to go deep in ourselves, not simply fill the shelves. It's the balance of the two to be the greatest you, letting go of the score, and now you can soar.
Clean, man, super clean.
That was the first one I wrote about a year ago. So now, this is inspiring me to get back into it.
When would you write those? When
It's
you
a great
had
question.
like open time, or were you you were feeling a certain way? Was you feeling full of emotion? You're like, I gotta write this, or was it I think I'm gonna write a poem right now, kind of?
Yeah, I think it kind of just came over me. Like sometimes I feel like it was a tool I had in the back of my head, and I always like kind of left that as an option. That sometimes I just like it would kind of come over me, like I gotta write something right now, and write that in a poem because I like to write. I love writing, and whether that's writing the children's books that I've done, or writing Instagram posts or blog posts or whatever. But something about the short, concise nature of a poem really just draws me in. And I think that's what I like about the freestyle too. I like the rhyming. I think that's what it is. I like the rhyming. The rhyming is
So
fun.
fun for
It
some
just makes the
reason,
brain
yeah.
work.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I bet there's some like, why do we love rhymes so much? I don't know. It's got to be some kind of inherent quality.
When you're finding rhymes, are you going on, because I've used like rhymezone.com. Are you looking up stuff, or are you just straight up trying to pull what's ever in your brain or things that you read in books, or how do you come up with all these rhymes?
Um, I'm not looking up stuff for sure. Although I've definitely been on rhymezone.com in the past. But I don't know. Usually when the first rhymes you come up with are kind of like pretty basic, and then like as you keep like going through it, then you just like new ones kind of come in. You're like, oh, that's better. Let me use that. And so you always know when there's a good one coming your way, where you're like, oh, okay, that was so like I didn't just think of that off the top. That kind of came it took a little bit for me to massage that one out, but I feel like, I don't know, there's something you can do where you like say the phrase,
Mm,
and then just like, I don't know, you just kind of like, for me, that's how I work. It's like you say it kind of sound wise and like try to rhyme after that, like see what comes to you from that phrase.
okay. Well, on that topic, how about I'm gonna give you a phrase and let's drop a little freestyle for the audience
Okay.
here. So
Yeah.
see, well, on the topic of let's go springtime, garden, green, something on that route.
Let me do that
Springtime.
little. Yeah. So what are you saying?
Springtime, garden, green, something about the springtime.
All right. Yo, I'm gardening, chilling in the springtime. I don't know. I just sing rhymes off the top. Yeah, I got a free mind. Mazel tov. Have a few shines. Yeah, moon in the dark. We in the spring. April starts. It brings May flowers in the showers. They come like the Mayflowers, but I ain't a Native American. I'm just unbearably me. Can you hear it again? I'm cherishing these rhymes that I spit off the top with the R-O-B to the R-N-E. It's Carson here. I ain't got no fear. I ain't sipping beer unless it's, celebration time of year. Yeah. How you doing, Rob? We going back to spring. I don't know what to say. I got this mattress thing and I sleep on it right over there. I don't know. I got a nice cold stare. That's all I got.
I love it. Nice. Dude, I think the thing about the freestyles too is just like it's hard not to be in a good mood while you're either listening to it or doing it. And I think that's just I see you smiling while you're saying it, I'm smiling when I'm receiving it. It's just fun. It's just fun.
Yeah. Do you want to spit a freestyle right now?
I'll share another poem.
Okay, yeah,
I'll
hit a
throw another
poem.
poem out here. Let's see. What else we got? Let's see. All right, I'm gonna read the titles. You tell me when to stop. So we got poetry, the power of breath, the light in the dark, the gift within
Light in
us.
the dark, light in the dark for
Light in the
sure.
dark. All right. So this is 32120. A light in the night may dispel our fright, but the power of sight, we feel all is right. We depend strongly on our sight. Is this wrong? Is this right? But what happens when our sight goes away? We stare into the darkness. Our mind goes astray. The darkness, some say, is an enemy to me. But what is an enemy which we cannot see? The fear of darkness is just the unknown. Or is it the lack of all that we know? Obsessive we are with using our eyes, yet when they are closed, sensations arise. Sit with these feelings, we're told by the wise, for out of the shadows the heroes arise.
Dude, that's so dope. That kind of reminds me of one of the lines in my written that I came with in the beginning. It was like, happy thoughts when I rock. Nah, sometimes there's some monsters who sneak out and leak out my unconscious. Pretty scary if you don't know your darkness, but it's chill because they're there anyway. It's chill because they're there anyway, right? So I might as well shine the light and ignite all these bad vibes I hide from sight. Which kind of just like what you said, totally. It was
Right.
like on point with that. It's like, yeah.
Well, it just, I mean, the way I'm, interpreting both of them is the fact that we like to hide from the darkness, and most of us don't like to come head on with our fears or the things that scare us. And I mean, that's the whole thing. You go to any house nowadays, it's 9 p.m. and the whole lights are on inside and outside. It's like there's almost this fear of the darkness, and I think that's a reflection of the inside as well. We all have our shadow parts of ourselves, and most of us kind of just bury down. And I think that's something that, you talking about your experience with drugs and coming clean and, getting into health and getting into freestyling, I'm sure you had to face some shadows along the way. And I'd love to just kind of have you share any of those shadows or any of the challenges that you've had to overcome on this, this holistic health journey.
Oh man, so many. Yeah, it's weird though, right? Because like you hold like there's certain aspects of ourselves that we like don't really even think about. I don't think we're like intentionally like actively like trying to hold them in the shadows. It's just like maybe you had a bad experience and that affected you in this way, and now you don't go down that road, but like you still have those memories or whatever in you, and they're still like vibrating and kind of controlling um your consciousness, how you act in the day. So it's like, yeah, you got to go and you know shine the light on these shadows if you truly want to grow. And it's hard because it's like you don't know they're there until they're there at the wrong moment, and you're like,
Right.
oh dude, I can't be feeling like this right now. Usually it's a social, for me it's like a social event. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm totally overwhelmed, but and I'm supposed to act chill.
Right.
But yeah, what are my shadows? Dominance. No. My shadow is dominance. My shadow, when I was growing up, I was kind of labeled the shy guy, super quiet. Not really in elementary school, but when I moved to the new school in like 6th, 7th grade, I was just like the observer, and I'm naturally kind of just an observer anyways. I'm kind of just taking everybody in, kind of being a sponge. I'm not like trying to be heard or be known. Um, but on the flip side, I do like to express myself, as you've seen, like vocally. So I had to overcome a lot of shyness. And yeah, I think like, I got into I, alcohol, for instance, like, that was like the cure to shyness in a way.
For a lot of people, it is.
Yeah. And, and yeah, that's a slippery slope, man. Cause too much of that and if you have like all these suppressed feelings, like I did, like, maybe I was too shy around women, where I didn't like express myself how I wanted to. I had a bunch of like creepy little boy, like, oh, I think you're beautiful thoughts. And then all of a sudden I'm like, start drinking, and those kind of come out, and like, I just act a fool. Um, so that was something I had to deal with, waking up in the morning, just like, God, what the heck? Oh God, like, why am I doing this?
Mm.
Just saying things or whatever. But uh, so that's one. I think just like probably shadow is like just shame in general. Like I always think like I'm guilty or something, or like I always get to feel like I'm almost in trouble for some
Mm.
reason. Like
Yeah.
I shouldn't do that. I don't know what that's like. Maybe both my parents kind of come from Catholic families. My dad's family in particular is like, very, you go in the house and there's just like Jesus is everywhere, what I'm saying, or God, or statues and stuff like that. It's pretty intense. I mean, if you're not used to it, but um, yeah, I would say those are the two that come to mind right now, like shyness and shame.
Well, it's funny you say that with like the feeling like you're always almost in trouble. And, for me, I kind of think of that, in high school, smoking weed. And like, back then it was illegal. And it's kind of crazy to think about now how much has changed in not too long a time. But it was just like you said, it was just kind of like we knew this wasn't bad for us. We knew like, oh, this helped us be creative. We knew this, we had fun, we were being safe. But there was always that like, what if we get in trouble? What if we get caught? Type of like that little bit of fear that always was there, but you kind of learn to like, kind of push through that. But I still, even to this day, sometimes, like if I go for a walk and like smoke a joint or something, I still feel like, am I gonna get in trouble? Like, what if someone sees me? Like these little thoughts are just what are they gonna think? Like, and it's like
Yeah,
I don't even care anymore, but it's just still those thoughts that have just been so strongly programmed. And it's crazy to see how and when they come out. Cause I definitely, I'm glad you said it, because I've definitely been noticing that a lot.
it's crazy, right? I have like certain friends who they'll like, take bong hits every day before work, and they like go work at
Shit.
like some like
Damn.
whatever job, and it's just like, I guess you just get used to it. I like, yeah, I didn't even smoke in high school or anything like that, not until college. I mean, maybe a few times in high school, but I didn't smoke or drink or do anything in high school. And so I kind of like, maybe because of that, because I thought I was getting in trouble or something. It's funny, man. I like won this like dare essay contest in 6th grade, like and got to go on this like rafting trip. And I remember reading my essay in front of the school and being like, I'm never gonna do drugs because I'm gonna end up working at like I don't want to work at McDonald's or something. And then, flash forward, 10, 12 years, I'm freaking deep into drugs. And, I was working at Taco Bell or something at one point and, Domino's. So it's like, yeah, I really freaking, shoved it in my old 6th grader's face.
Just got to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just got to make sure that they know that they were wrong.
Oh, man. But yeah, even with the drugs, like I never told my family or anything like that. I mean, later it came out, but like they had no idea. And when it came out, they're just like, I remember my mom was very like, oh, I did something wrong. Like I raised you, she was feeling bad. And I was like, Mom, like, I haven't touched it in like 8 years at that point. It's just like, I'm good. I got a job. Like, I'm feeling good. Like,
Right.
But yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, and I think part of it too is, part of the human condition is we want to push our boundaries and just see, what extremes can we go to. And sometimes it takes, getting to a point of like, holy shit, like I almost died, to be like, wow, I'm never gonna do that again. Like even just thinking, when I first got my license, 16, 17 years old, just driving like 80 miles an hour on a road that was not supposed to be 80 miles an hour. And then just like, having a scare, like, whether it was like someone coming up to their mailbox or, an animal crossing the street or, another car jutting out. And it's just like that holy shit moment that is just like, what am I doing? And same thing with like, alcohol. Like my goal in college and like late high school was to like basically black out every time I drank. Like that was the objective. It was just
why was that cool? I remember that was like the thing, right? It was like,
I think it was an ego thing. Like for me, it was like, yo, I can take like 12 shots in 15 minutes and I'll be perfectly cool. Like I remember it was my freshman year. I think it was 12 shots in like 40 minutes. And that was like my record. And like, I didn't even black out from that. It was just like, that's how bad it was, how much I was drinking. And I remember that was just like, my friends were like, dude, like, this isn't good. Like, if you can do that and not black out, like that's not a good sign. Like you are drinking too much. And it's just again, but sometimes we got to push that boundary just to see how far we can go.
I think that is a skill if you can drink that much, not black out or throw up.
I could not do that now, by no means. I'd be in the hospital.
It's funny we're talking about this on like a holistic health podcast, but like, yeah,
Right?
I remember the same thing. We were like, we thought we could drink. I thought I could drink a bunch, I was like, oh, I got this like Irish genetics and like this strong gut, or whatever.
Right.
And like, for some reason, like there's 4 of us in college, I think like freshman or sophomore year, we like challenge each other to like a 5th challenge, which was like, it's just the worst idea ever. It was like everyone had their own 5th, I think of like Sky 90. And it was like the first one to finish wins. If you throw up, you lose. And I remember I ended up like winning, but I like definitely blacked out before I finished it. And it was just like the next day, I think that was like definitely a turning point. The way I felt, I was just like, no, dude, this is retarded,
Yeah. And I remember too, there was a point where I was drinking like a full handle every weekend, like, between Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I remember like doing that a few weekends in a row and just feeling like absolute garbage. And then also recognizing what I was doing, which was drinking a full handle by myself in a weekend and just being
Wow.
like,
By
what the
yourself.
fuck? Like,
Yeah. And it's like we all have friends like that kind of didn't stop doing it,
right.
or like maybe
Totally.
they just do it when we're all together and stuff. But it's just like, oh, dude, not a good look anymore.
Right. Not
Yeah,
18 anymore.
yeah, I'm 32. I really feel it when when I do go, it's pretty hard. I mean, sometimes it's like if it's like somebody's a big celebration, I can maybe have like 5 or 6 drinks and the next day be somewhat fine. But if it's not like a total like party, like everybody's feeling good and I'm just in the moment, that's why I'm drinking. If we're just like low key drinking, like, oh, I feel so bad the next day. I'm like,
Right.
yeah. And I do shame myself a little bit the next
Me
day. Like,
too.
I think maybe that is like the positive side of the shame. It's like, I don't want to do this again. Like,
Right.
remember this moment, I don't know if that is like a positive at all, but
Yeah, no, I think so. It's like that. It's almost like that negative feedback, which stimulates change. And, for me, I feel like since college, so I graduated college, let's see, about 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 years ago. And since then is like, I usually have like one night a year that I just, just do wait. Like I drink, I can't even remember the last time I drank, like maybe 8 months ago, maybe a year ago. I don't know, but usually like once a year, like you said, in the right setting, all of a sudden, I get into the moment, and then I'm reminded very quickly the next morning of like, yeah, I don't need to do this again for another year. So it's kind of, but it's funny, like
It's it's
it,
so fun sometimes.
it
Yeah.
is, it is,
That
and I
like,
think that
you know.
it just like so charged up and so
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah,
I got a question for you.
sure thing.
Okay, so what do you do um around like your really good old school homies who like you kind of maybe had a relationship around drinking?
Mm,
And then you guys, when you do rendezvous, it's like, yo, I'm imagining it might be like this for you as well, because it is for me, but like, let's take some shots, or like, let's do this. And you're like, no, I'm good. And then they just keep kind of hammering you all night or something. And you're like, all right, dude, like, what, am I not your friend if I don't do this anymore?
right.
Like, do you have that come up, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, so I mean, about a little over a year ago, I had to make the challenging decision to kind of really step away from some of my high school buddies that were, just still living a life that, we lived 10 years ago that isn't really in alignment of who I am anymore. And kind of like you said, there was a lot of, we'd be down our buddy's basement, playing video games and drinking and smoking and vaping and all just, and not high quality stuff either, and then ordering pizza and calzones and
Mhm.
just like arguing and just like bickering. And like I remember walking away after, like we'd usually hang out like once a week, because when I moved back with my parents, a couple of years ago or whatever, whenever that was, um it was like, I was back in my hometown, and it was like, these are the people that are still here. And um, yeah, so I made the tough decision about a year ago to be like, hey guys, we've been homies, but it's not doing it for me. And I just walk away feeling drained, and it was just like everyone was always kind of bickering at each other. And it's like, what's the point of this? No one's really getting anything out of this.
Did you have to tell them that, or did you just kind of like not call them anymore and just kind of like separate yourself like that?
I told them. I
You,
mean,
you were like, yo, I ain't trying to kick it anymore.
yeah, that's what I told.
But in like a way where it's like, hey guys, I'm not trying to drink anymore. Like this isn't positive for my life.
Well, so when I moved to LA in 2018, that's kind of when that started, because I was like, leaving them, and like we saw this group message, and it was like, again, in the group message, still like bickering and all this type of stuff. And I was like, yo guys, like take me out of this group message. Like I don't, like I'm not even here anymore. Like you guys are just like bickering, and like I
Yeah.
don't want to be like be a part of this. But it's like it's not the I message one, so you can't actually remove yourself. You have to like actually they have to start a new one.
The green
So yeah, the
messages.
green
Yeah.
message, the worst.
Yo, those green messages.
So I basically, that's kind of when that started. And when I moved back, end of 2018 is kind of when that solidified. Then 2019, I moved a bit further away, but it was just like kind of, yeah. So it kind of started as being nice, in the end it was like, dude, it's like I'm out. Like you got like fucking take me out of this message. Like no more of this shit. So it was like eventually didn't end the best way it could have. Handful of them I've reconnected with, and we still I talk to them every so often still, because it's good to have those homies. But I'd say there's still some of my college buddies I
It's
see.
yeah. It's something weird about those old school homies who just know you at the core,
Right.
you know. But like it's a gift and a curse too,
It is.
it's like very feels very homey and familiar, and you can just say whatever. Like I think a lot of my old school homies like that, I feel no um like resistance to kind of say my opinions on whatever's going on, whether it's COVID, whether it's
Right.
like some other political stuff. I'll just tell them how I feel. But at the same time, like, I think you keep your old school homies in a box a little bit, like
Right.
to how they were back in the day. And it's like maybe
Mhm.
not how you want to be right now. So it's like, yeah, there's pros and cons to everything, I guess. But I mean, so you moved to LA, huh?
Yeah, I
in
lived
20?
so 2018. So in end of 2017, I made the decision I was going to move to California. I always wanted to move to California, and I was in between LA and San Diego. And so kind of crazy little story. So basically, I used to do an internship with this holistic nutritionist. And so she reached out to me and was like, "Oh yeah, like this my cousins or like some weird connection is doing this like trade show in Boston. They want someone who's relatively knowledgeable about health and can talk to people for this like pop-up trade show for the weekend. Like it's just like a 2-day commitment. You can earn some extra cash. It was like $25 an hour under the table, whatever. I was like, all right, cool, I'll check it out. And so I went up, I went there and did the thing. And then I remember, kind of told them because they were based in LA and also Nevada, so they had two locations. And I remember talking to the son of one of the guys who was a partial owner of the company. And like we just stayed in contact on Instagram or whatever, told him I was thinking about moving out to, California. And then sure enough, I get a phone call by one of the head guys. It was like, "Hey, I heard you're coming out to California. If you want to come out and work for us in LA, you know, we'd love to have you." And it was a small startup company. There's like, including me, there's like 11 people in the company. It was a medical device company. And basically, they were like, "Hey, if you move out in the next 2 weeks, we'll give you $1,000 moving bonus." And I was like, and this is like, I think it was like December, like right before Christmas. And I was like, "All right, fuck." Like, all right. And I left like a couple days after Christmas, drove across country with my buddy who lived in Salt Lake City. So we drove to Salt Lake City together. I stayed there for New Year's and then drove to Vegas, stayed there by myself in Vegas for the first time, just kind of walking around like, what is this place? Like just like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is weird, but also really cool. And then drove to LA, slept on couches of some like family friends for like the first 6 weeks while I was finding a place. And yeah, long story short, the company didn't quite go the way we wanted to, so moved back to Boston with about 10
Oh,
grand in credit card debt. And
10 G's in credit card debt?
yes, that was a tough hole, but
Oh, so you weren't getting paid, huh?
it was like 30 grand plus commission. So living in LA, that's not gonna quite cut it when you're living in like an
No.
expensive place. So
Where were you living?
I was on 28th Street of Santa Monica. So still
Oh,
Santa
okay.
Monica, but basically as far out of Santa Monica as you can be.
Yeah. Wow, man. 10 G's in credit card debt. Yeah. No
So
bueno. I've been there for sure.
yeah, but I mean, the good thing was that I got a card because I knew I was moving out there that had no interest for like it was like 2 years or something. So I didn't end up
Oh.
paying any interest on it, which was huge because paying like 27% interest would fucking be brutal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it ended up working out. Paid that off, and yeah, so now I'm actually gonna be moving out in 10 days from today. I'm moving to a new place with Jackie. We're getting a place and about 40 minutes from where my parents live here. It's still south of Boston, but more west. My parents live east of Boston. So got a new place, got a nice yard. I'm going to have some room for gardening.
Where you go? Where in Boston is like
It's
the
Norwood,
Cape? Where you go?
Norwood.
Norwood. Okay.
So my parents are in Norwell and I'm going to Norwood.
Mm.
So yeah, so it's a nice change on the horizon.
Oh wow. Congratulations, man. That's cool. You're moving in with Jackie and get to kind of spread your wings a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so
It's
I'm
gotta
super
feel
excited.
good.
It does feel good. And that's what, I think too is just having these different experiences. I feel like that's really what life's about. And part of my my mindset from being in 10 grand of debt and just kind of how I was raised is got a bit of that scarcity mindset. And like part of me is like, oh, can I afford to move to my own place? Can I afford to do X, Y, and Z? But every time I've taken a leap and done something, like when I went to Asia, one-way ticket to Asia in 2017, end up there for like 4 months, had no plan, worked out. It's like if you're my view, if you're following your heart and doing what you love, things are going to work out. And I think if we focus on the why and less on the how, you just got to take those leaps because that's usually when the magic happens.
I agree. 100%.
Well, I want to, like you said, this is supposed to be a health podcast, so I want to shift shift gears a little bit back.
We're kidding, kids. Yeah.
It's all good, but no, that's good. This is the real side of, the human existence, and this is an important piece to showcase. But, you know, I also want to give people some practical, you know,
Addictions and credit card debt. That's the real, yeah.
right. That's what life's about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'd love to just have you dive into, specifically your health journey. Like what have you done and what has been the standout pieces? Like obviously studying at the Czech Institute, we've got some very similar ideas and ideals and, visions for health. But what have you found to be, whether it's your nutrition, movement practice, meditation, what tools have you found to be most effective for optimizing yourself?
Mm. Man, honestly, like just communication with those around me is probably like the um the one that kind of feels the most freeing, when I could just express how I feel to somebody and not feel like I can't say what I want to say. That's like the most freeing. And just my immediate circle, like family, close relationships, that is super healing to me at this moment. But yeah, diet was super big. Like I said, I worked at Taco Bell and Domino's, and like um just wasn't I did like some food eating contests when I was younger. Like I just loved, kind of the same thing with the alcohol story. Like I just thought it was cool that I could eat a bunch.
What
But
type of food eating are we talking about here for the contest?
oh, I did a 3 foot long, 6 pound Philly cheesesteak.
Shit.
But like wrecked me, just totally wrecked me. But we like did it because we thought we were cool. And
Totally. Yeah, we were on a cruise ship. I think it was my freshman year of high school with all my cousins, and they have buffet. And I remember we did some food eating contests, and I remember having like 12 slices of pizza or something, and just like fucking feeling like garbage. I came in second. That was the worst part. I didn't even win, and had all this pizza. I was just like, oh fuck. But
right.
like you said, it was fun. We thought we were cool, and but you learn your lessons.
And you really learn it because, like, if you eat that much food and your body can't process it, like, that's where, you're going to have some bacterial overgrowth. So you're going to start to get some kind of like, you're going to have some fungal or some parasite kind of come in and eat that food for you. Or it's just going to rot there, turn to garbage. You're going to have the worst farts in the game. Like, it's just like, you know, it's just all bad. So diet was huge for me. I kind of like, when I was getting off of heroin, like I think I watched like Forks Over Knives or something, and I just was like, it was just called me. I started going straight like mad vegetables. I was juicing a bunch. I was juicing so much that like my hands, they're still a little orange, but like no joke, I was having so much carrot juice like that, like they were straight Oompa Loompa paws.
Wow.
And it was wild. But so was doing that, and I had like acne like my whole life. So it was like, it wasn't like on my face, it wasn't too bad. It was like, I'd have like, pimples and stuff randomly, like whiteheads, but on my chest and on my shoulders and on my back, I would have these cysts. They're big, like my brother calls them underground bombers, because they don't really like come out and like bust any pus or anything like that. But they're like, if you get hugged or something, it kind of freaking hurts. And that was like,
Yeah.
that was really brutal for me, because like, a girlfriend or something would give me a hug, and I would like, it would hurt, and I would like kind of want to push her away, and it was like, it was really frustrating. And obviously went to a bunch of like, doctors, or whatever you call the skin doctor. I can't think of the name right now, but
Dermatologist.
dermatologist, yeah, get creams or whatever, topical stuff, take pills or whatever it was, but never worked really. And that's kind of like when I first transitioned into the holistic health game. I was just like frustrated with that. I was in my like 20s still having these things, and I found this book called Acne No More. It was like this PDF ebook or something, and by this guy who was just like, yo, I don't know why this works, but I swear it works. And it had all these steps, and it was like, he had a series of cleanses that he wanted you to do, and then it was like, these are the foods to stay away from. And it was like, grains, it was breads, it was carbs, it was basically like sugars. And I did that, and then like all these cysts kind of went away. And it was just like, what? This is crazy. It was the diet the whole time. And I think back to my whole youth, how much pizza and soda and
Right.
all this stuff. And like, I remember just struggling with acne, and like, I was like, wow, if I knew it was the food thing back then, that was like, and that was like another tipping point where I was like just so frustrated with Western medicine.
I
But
think too, if we educate, young kids, you think of especially in your teenage years, you would do freaking anything to not have acne on you.
anything,
Like
man.
that's like if someone's like change your entire diet to not have acne, I'd have been like, okay, like I don't want to be walking around with fucking zits all over my face. And I remember for me, I didn't get a lot on my face either, but I think from like my football and lacrosse chin straps, I'd always have it along like under my chin, kind of like along my jaw. And then I get it really bad on my back. I never really got much in my chest. I get one here and there, but my back was bad. Even to this
Yeah.
day, I got some scars, not some
Yeah.
scars, a lot of scars. But it's like, it's crazy to think that, for me too, I stopped eating, pasteurized, non-organic dairy
Hmm.
and, non-organic gluten and like all these things, clean up the diet. And, all of a sudden, my skin is as clear as it's ever been. And granted, that's been now years of eating that way, but yeah, I think for me, it's like we really just gotta educate and like recognize like, yo, kids, eating fucking Cap'n Crunch and pizza is not food. Like that's not good for you. And so, if we can educate people like that, especially teenagers, like think of how many traumatic experiences kids have from being self-conscious, but based on the way they look because of the acne on their face. And I think that there's so many things like acne that are, normal, quote unquote, because they're common, but that doesn't mean it's actually normal. We shouldn't be having acne. That's a sign that our body is having trouble with something in the body. It's an inflammatory response. So, my hope Totally.
Overloaded
And
organs.
like you said with the pizza, like or like stress, like eating so much, if we're just overloading the body, it's got to come out somewhere. All these toxins have to come out somewhere, and for a lot of people, it's with the acne. But just want to
Hmm.
throw that in there, so continue.
No, I totally agree. And it's like hard for me to, in the moment, like if you see someone with acne, or like, I have like certain people that I'm close to who have it, and I look at their diet, and I'm pretty sure I could probably like recommend, some things we could cut out, but it's like I just feel like it's not my place, or like, they don't want to listen,
I think it's
because like,
it's all about how you say it. I think that's the
yeah,
big thing is like, because there's times where I'm in the same position and I'm like, oh, dude, like if you stop eating gluten, you'll stop having acne. Like that's not gonna be very well received.
yeah, you're gonna, yeah,
But if you
exactly.
say it in a more, kind of pry them open a little bit and then, give them a suggestion, sometimes they do, but it can be tough.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, it's like I feel like you can kind of tell when you're barking up the wrong tree,
Right.
You might have the gift, but if they don't want to receive it, or I don't know. But yeah, that was diet kind of came through there. I had like, I mean, even just going back even further, in first grade, I had this like experience where I went to the bathroom, and I saw a worm in my stool, and I like just freaked out, and I flushed it, and I like went and told my parents. I was like, yo, I had a worm in my poop. And they're like, what, dude? No, you're chill. And I was just freaking out. I was like, why is that there? Why did that come out of me? I was so confused. No one was giving me the answers. And we went to the doctor, and he was just like, he didn't really, he was just kind of like, you're fine. And it was basically deemed that everything was in my head. Um, and it was really weird, man. This is super weird, but this created like this fear around going to the bathroom, like going number two, to the point where like I would have like debilitating pains. Like, listeners, pardon my language here, but after you take a poop, and it like sometimes it takes a little bit for your butthole to close, or I don't know how you want to phrase that, but you know what I'm saying? That like unspoken feeling where it's just
Right.
like, I need a sec before I can really go run a sprint or something. And I would get that, like, but it wouldn't go away. And I would have to like just go home. I couldn't do a sleepover. I just kind of lay down in like the fetal position. It was like super debilitating. And I
Mm.
just was so scared to go to the bathroom. And this kept going all the way through high school. Like obviously, like once I got, past maybe about sixth or seventh grade, it would be pretty rare. It would maybe a few times a year. But um so I think like just me not getting the answers there and swallowing, just feeling like kind of like it was just all in my head. Like I think a good portion of it was all in my head because I had all these unresolved questions that never got answered. Maybe like I've had all these emotions about like something was wrong with me or something like that. And that was just, that affected me and my health more than pretty much anything. I think that I always, you know, it was just something I always hid from everybody because I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone because, you know, my parents were just like, yeah, it's in your head, bro. And like the doctors were like, yeah, you're all good. And I probably was all good. I just like saw a worm and was freaked out. And no one really was like, hey, you know, we all have like parasites and stuff in us, you know, it's just we have bacteria and stuff in us and your body flushed it out or whatever it was, you know, maybe you did have some infection from something you drank or whatever. But you know, no one really like told me like the kind of like the chill side of it.
Right.
And I think that is the reason that I got so into freestyling and hip hop, was just because I just developed this habit of like not expressing emotions and stuff, you know? And so, yeah, that's why I was saying communication now is just like being totally honest. That's like the most healing thing. But in addition, I think when I found the float tank, and that thing that put me right in the right spot, man. I have like so many hours of floating under my belt. Like I absolutely loved it. Have you ever done it?
I have, and yeah, just kind of recap on what you said in the last bit there. I think that especially as kids, when we have unresolved questions, we're gonna make our own answers. And like it sounds like you did, you made some worst case scenario answers.
Yeah, bro, I went crazy.
And that's what that I think that's also again a lot of people's mind just goes there because when we don't know and we don't have answers and the so-called experts or authority figures don't tell us, and you know we're going to immediately assume something's wrong with us, especially as a kid, you know. And like you said, if this is something that's embarrassing, like it's not like you can tell your friend like, oh, I got this like scab on my arm, I know where this came from. Like you're not going to be talking about your trips to the bathroom because that's embarrassing as a kid, you know.
Right.
And no one talks about that, and so obviously you're going to create these answers for yourself that probably aren't true, and maybe they were, maybe you were intuitive into something, hey, you know, there is something going on here. But at the end of the day, you know, if we don't have answers, we're gonna make our own answers, and they may not be truthful. So
I think part of it was too, like I would, you know, you start to get that feeling, whatever you like your butthole is still closing or whatever. And I would just say, oh, this is never gonna end or something. Or I was almost like I was attached to that
right,
feeling. Like if I could go back now, I'm sure I could just like switch the thinking and like
right,
be like, all right, this is gonna go away in about 27 seconds, you know, and
right.
I'm gonna go back to like playing basketball on the court with the neighbors. But in my head, for some reason, I was like attached to this idea of whatever. I'm not sure what the idea even was, that like
Right.
something was wrong with me or like blah blah blah. And it was, yeah, it's wild.
But yeah, to answer your question, I have done a float tank. I've done it once. This was probably like 5 years ago, a while ago, and I remember I thought it was cool. I think I was a little too tall for the thing. I remember that was one thing I didn't like. I like there was like probably 6 inches around like extra. And I
Mm-mm.
remember like I'd be floating, like kind of bump my head and then bump my feet. And it was just like, it was really nice once I finally was able to relax into it. I remember at first being like kind of claustrophobic and hitting my head and stuff. But I think the idea of it is phenomenal.
Yeah, I to be totally honest, I didn't like my first one.
Interesting.
I think because I thought, you know, I had been listening to whatever Joe Rogan or something. I thought it was going to be something it wasn't. You know, it just boils down to like you laying in a kind of like skin temperature bathtub that's got a bunch of salt water, so you float like a rubber ducky and you're in the dark. You know, that's kind of all it boils down to. But the way like Joe Rogan describes it, I mean, I'm sure he's doing some like freaking drugs in it or something too. But like if you just go in there straight sober, it's like, yeah, okay, like this is kind of boring. But
I'm in
like,
some water.
yeah, but if you develop, I developed a practice of it, and man, you just, yeah, I love it so much. You just get in that spot where you're totally supported, and you can kind of just lay back and maybe think about your day, maybe just
Mm,
drift off. Like it was so nice to me. And where I started floating at was this lady. She had a float tank at her house,
nice.
and she was just super with it, super on point lady, kind of older. And so she kind of became my therapist in a way, and taught me a whole bunch of stuff about like diet, meditation, and stuff like that. And then she was wild, man. It's kind of like the Paul Chek thing. She had like her husband that she was there with, and then he kind of had this other woman come into his life for like business reasons. She didn't want to work with the business side anymore, so he had this other lady, and they kind of started developing feelings. There was this house where a bunch of people lived, and they had like sweat lodges and stuff, and did all this kind of like whatever hippie stuff. And she was just like, all right, I see, like I don't think I'm needed here anymore. And she like went to Switzerland and be like a monk or something.
Wow.
um
Crazy.
but yeah, she was just like so on point. And so after that, I started working at this float facility in Santa Cruz, and we had the big tanks, man. We had the ones that were like, I don't know, freaking basketball player size. They're like
Nice.
$60,000 units.
Wow.
Um, and so I would just float like every night after my shift, and
That's sweet.
it was like I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I would if you haven't done it. I had like I had like scoliosis and stuff growing up, so maybe it was a little more like nice for me because I felt my back was
Mm.
kind of more supported. But I think if you have any kind of physical pain or just anything like that, I think it's great. And like usually they have a light in there, so you can turn the light on, or
Right.
you can ask the attendant to put some music on. You can bring your own music. You can create like this cool spot where your body can just be totally supported. And when you're not taking in any stimulants from like the light or the dark or
Mm.
minimal,
Right.
the water's the same temperature as your skin, so you're not kind of gauging on that level. You have so much more energy for your internal world. You can hear your thoughts more. You can feel the parts of you that need to be stretched or strengthened. And man, I would do like workouts in there, you know what I'm saying? Like just
Really?
floating
Nice.
workouts. I would flip over on my stomach and have my snorkel, you know what I'm saying? So I could do
Wow.
stomach stuff, dude. I
That's
was
dope.
game changing floats. But and I haven't done it in like, I don't know, it's probably been like since COVID started, because I moved away from Santa Cruz and they don't have one up in Humboldt County, but I
Mm.
definitely have fond memories of those.
Well, it's
So
funny. It's funny you bring up the float tank because there's this new place that opened up pretty close to here that it's called the Restore Wellness or something like that. And so they had like a $69 unlimited sessions for the first month, and I was like, sure. So this tomorrow actually, I'm doing like a compression therapy, which I've never done before, cryotherapy, which I've never done before. Obviously, I've done more ice baths than I can count, but I'm a little nervous in the cryo. I was like, fuck it,
yo,
this is gonna be next level shit. So, and then I'm
yeah,
doing an infrared sauna after.
that's the trifecta right there.
So I'm
I
excited.
so you're going from cryo to a infrared sauna.
Yes, I'm going compression, cryo, sauna.
What is compression?
It's basically, I don't know if you've seen like a lot of NBA players, like the huge things that wrap around your legs and like they almost look like giant like hockey guards, like a hockey
Mm,
goalie would wear.
okay.
And so like my understanding is that it's compressing all the muscles, and then when it releases, the blood's going to be able to flow more effectively. I don't really know a ton about it, so I'm pulling this out of my ass right now, but I'm just going to try it. And they have like IV therapy and stuff there too. They basically just kind of got like a
Hmm.
biohacking center, um, which I've never done IV. I don't really like having needles in me, so I don't
Nah,
really know how I feel about that. But so I didn't book that one tomorrow. I was like, maybe I'll go look at it, and then I'll make a decision. Like I get it. Like you get some vitamins straight to your bloodstream, but
yeah.
I've always been woozy when it comes to just getting blood drawn and all that. It's just like having a needle just staying in my arm. I don't know. It's something about it just.
I don't like it either, man. Like the place you're describing sounds just like the spot I used to work. Like we had the cryo tank, we had infrared sauna, we had two naturopathic doctors who would do like all sorts of like B12 injections, but they'd have like so much more options. And I would sit there and people would come in raving about the injections. That's like what was the biggest hit. It's like happy hour, like come get your like whatever, it's the lower cost B12 or whatever it was. And I was just like, man, all these people are raving about it. And the doctor was super cool, but I was like super resistant, like you're sounding. And I finally got like a B12 shot one day. They put it like in your butt. And no, I don't know, man. Maybe I just had too much resistance. I didn't notice really anything, and I had a really sore, like where I got the vitamin shot. I was like sore for like a day or something. I was just like, nah, what is it? But people act like they get like rushes of energy and like sustainable energy, and
Well,
so
I wonder too, it depends on like how healthy you are. Because I feel like maybe if you are extremely healthy and you're getting enough, vitamin B12 or whatever they're putting in, like maybe you aren't going to notice much of a difference. So, to me, I also just don't know if I need it. Like it doesn't really call to me. So, again, I just don't like the idea of having needles in my arm. But
yeah, straight up.
so I'm gonna stick with the other toys they got there to start.
Yeah, if you feel, I feel like I like to try everything at least once or twice just to like so I can share an experience with someone who has. But yeah, it's not something I'm gonna do again.
Yeah, that's good to know. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted on how the cryo and all that goes tomorrow and the compression therapy. But
I'm interested to know how you like the cryo, man, because I honestly enjoy more like an ice bath or jump in the cold ocean, But um,
something new.
I, you'll have to let me know how you like it.
I will do, brother. Well, I'd love to just kind of recap here. We've talked about a lot of diverse topics, which has been awesome. We started off with some tunes and some vocals. Then what did we go to next? What was after? I know somehow we got into
I don't know, like some weird like partying,
partying phase. Yeah, we
abuse.
kind of came full circle with our whole life story. We kind of started off in the partying, got into health. So
Yeah,
maybe that's just, it's just a natural reflection of our journeys here.
the
But
trajectory. Yeah.
yeah, so I'd love to just have you share, where can people learn more about you, get connected with you, and follow along with all the music you're making and all the other cool stuff you're doing.
Yeah, you can check me out on Instagram at Emeezio, Emeezio. I have a YouTube page. It's Emilius88 is the YouTube. So just Emilius, Emilious, and then the number's 88. Just search that into YouTube. Those are the only real spots to get at me. I'm kind of developing a website and stuff, but yeah, check out my Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I put out videos now and then. And I'm going to announce, whenever I'm going to have a freestyle boot camp or any kind of, I want to do written ones too. That's coming down the line where it's just like, all right, let's, set the stage. Let's pick a topic and everybody, maybe do some warm up writing exercises to get the mind, get the juices flowing. And then everyone, have a little quiet 15 minutes to write, and then we share that kind of stuff. I love doing that. But also the freestyle classes are super fun. And I create word decks on the screen and have different tools. So it's not just you like freestyling off the cuff. You have kind of like training wheels there. You say the word that's on the screen, use it in a sentence, then I give you a new word to use a sentence or stuff like that. I give you pictures, images. Like there's so many games we can play. So don't be scared. Super fun. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And just working on getting you guys more content and getting deeper into myself.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, and to anybody listening, you don't have to have any experience with freestyling or any sort of writing or rapping. Like Emil said, he put some training wheels on for you, and slowly, like any good parent does, slowly takes off the training wheels and eventually gives that little
Push.
push
Might
on the
give the
bike.
cub a little push
Right.
every now and then.
And there's no road bumps in the road. You're not gonna flip over on your tires. He's got a nice steel.
I'm just like, this is my love zone, and I'll do whatever I can to make you feel totally supported and welcome. And like, yeah, you're probably gonna feel nervous now and then, but that's where all the good stuff comes from. So don't be scared.
Absolutely, brother. Well, Emeezio, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Everybody
Rob. This is
listening,
so much fun, man.
this is a lot of fun. So thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Everybody listening, check out the links. I'll put anything Emil said in the description here. You can check those out in the show notes. Have the best day ever. See you on the flip side.
Later.
What is up, my friends? Thank you for listening to this episode of the Whole Health of Rob Carney podcast with my brother Emil Carson, Mr. Emeezio. So we'd love for you to check out Emil, follow along with all the cool stuff he's doing. Emeezio uses hip hop as a tool for creation and releasing stuck emotions. So as you mentioned, he hosts these monthly ZOOM Bootcamps and releases videos on his IG/YouTube. He's passionate about holistic health, travel, spirituality, and much more. So I'd love for you to check him out, as he said, on YouTube, Emilius88, and on IG at Emeezio. So you can check those out in the description box here. I'll put those links in the bio. And we'd love for you to check him out, support him, tune in for a ZOOM Bootcamp. And if you found this podcast to be at all valuable, please share it. The more that we share this wealth of knowledge, maybe there's someone in your life that can relate. Maybe they can take something from this podcast that will transform their life. So would love you to share that. Would really appreciate you subscribing, liking, and anything you can do to support the podcast. And a great way to do that is with our superfood sponsors. So if you go to my website, wholehealthconnects.com, and go to the superfood nutrition tab, check out some of the products we got there. We got the red light therapy, we got Aries Tech EMF blocking chips. We got a lot of great superfoods from Purium, Bioptimizers, Mushroom Revival. Take care of yourself. Invest in yourself, invest in your health, because health is wealth. And at the end of the day, the healthier we are, the better we'll feel, and the better we'll make this world. So thank you as always for your support. Have the best day ever. I'll see you soon.